cross your arms, trust your staff, and just let go.
So there's always been this great debate about which city has the better quality of life. Is it Cape Town? Is it Johannesburg? Some people say Joburg has this big hustle mentality. People are always hardworking there and thus they're not happy. But in fact, a recent study has shown that most of Joburg's residents believe that they have a super quality of life. We have with us on the line right now Professor David Everard, who's the Executive Director of the Gauteng City Region Observatory, to tell us a bit more about the study that was undertaken. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, thanks, and you?
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about this study. When was it undertaken and why?
The when is easy. It was, the fieldwork was undertaken towards the latter end of last year, basically September, October, November. The results have taken, because it was such a large sample, it was 16,500 people. It's taken quite a long time to process it all. The why of the survey is we do the survey every 2 years. This is only the second one, I should say. I mean, we're quite a new institution, only 5 years old. We do the survey every 2 years to try and keep a running tab on what's happening in the Gauteng City region. Both the quality of life, but all the issues that make it up, and that includes everything from transport through to crime and unemployment and the rest.
So of the 16,000 odd that you surveyed, what were some of the interesting findings?
Sorry, say again, you're terribly faint.
I was asking about the findings, the interesting findings of the survey.
Gosh, I mean, it spreads right across. As I said, you know, if you're a transport person, there are some quite fascinating and unfortunate findings about the extent to which, you know, the main trip that people take is to look for work rather than to go for work, and what an incredibly mobile province we are, with people travelling the length and breadth of it for school, for work, for all sorts of purposes. So, you know, I think the main ones would be that, given the importance of, or the negative influence of crime in the last few years, we have a question, a top-of-the-head question, where we say, what is the main problem facing your community today? And people can say anything they like. And 2 years ago when we did this, 46%, that's basically every second respondent, said the main issue was crime. And that's now dropped to a third. A third is still high. But unemployment and then worryingly drugs and alcohol are beginning to rise up quite dramatically. Unemployment obviously in response to the recession, but drugs and alcohol have kind of jumped from 2%, which is worrying but not terribly, to 7%, which is worrying. And I think wherever you go across all the municipalities and cities that make up the province and the city region, you'll see a similar spike, sometimes going up into double figures. And I think that's where there's a negative problem. The positive problem is that crime seems to be still a big issue, but it seems to be coming under control.
Yes. So when you look at Johannesburg and how it compares to other South African and African cities, how does it rank up in terms of how people feel about the quality of their life there?
I mean, well, this survey, let me say, is limited to the Gauteng City region, so it compares Joburg to the other cities and municipalities around it. And in terms of objective scores, it's coming fourth after. I mean, it's 0.01 behind Tshwane, which, if you're a statistician, is terribly exciting. Not if you're a citizen, it doesn't really matter. Midvaal and Randfontein are out in front, and there's a real push in terms of delivery. So scores are being pushed high in terms of, ironically, the services that government is delivering. And scores are being pulled low by people's perception that there's a lot of corruption, that politicians, and particularly the public officials, the public servants, are in it for themselves. How do we compare with the rest of the continent? I mean, there's a whole series of different surveys. Grant Thornton do one, MasterCard does one, and so on. And in almost every one, Johannesburg comes out as the top city on the continent by a long way. I mean, way ahead of Cairo and Lagos and the other places that you would normally compare us with.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it, sir.
Sure.
Well, fantastic news there. And one of the stats that actually came up in there is that the Quality of Life survey, which was conducted last year, found that 93% of households had access to piped water and 91% of households had access to either a flushing toilet or water-borne toilets. So I guess a lot of development happening in those kind of areas there in the city of Johannesburg. Great news to hear that indeed. We'll be right back after this.